listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Cali Estes and Master Coach Jenny Fontana, founders of the Life Coach Method. Each one of our uplifting and deep dive episodes is geared to help you tackle the things that hold you back from having the most magnificent life you deserve. Sit back, relax, and prepare to be coached.
Hey guys, Dr. Cali Estes, Unpause Your Life. I am here with Tricia Parido, one of my favorite Addictions Academy Train the Trainers, and she's been around a long time doing what she does. So I'm going to read her bio, although she needs no introduction. So Tricia Parido is a transformational coach and emotional agility expert. We're going to talk about that, who helps high achievers break free from destructive coping, burnout, and self-doubt. As the creator of Agility Unlocked, the High Achievers Playbook, she delivers raw, psychology-backed strategies that empower leaders, entrepreneurs, and homefront CEOs to master emotional resilience and reclaim their lives. A former survivor of her own battle with destructive patterns, Tricia's no fluff, I love that, no BS, no fluff, results-driven approach has been changing lives since 2015. Welcome, Tricia.
Hey, everybody. Here I am.
So tell me, okay, so first of all, what is resilience to you? What does that mean?
Oh,
what does that mean?
Dude, such a loaded question, because, to me, it's not bouncing back, right? It's more of a forward moving momentum. And also, right, there's that, and also having the ability to allow moments to come and go, meaning don't get slapped upside the face, thrown into a bad attitude, and run to the worst coping strategy you could possibly have. It means facing it, breaking it down, observing whatever it is you need to do to go, what do I need to learn in this space? And how do I create that forward moving momentum despite whatever it is that I feel I need to be resilient from?
So you work with CEOs. What do you see the most of? Is it addiction? Is it burnout? Is it, I'm raising my kids and running a company and I'm just tired? I mean, what are you seeing on that side of things?
I see, and I get this call all the time. I don't have an addiction, and of course, then we have to, educate everybody on perfectionism is an addiction, right? Like we're talking behaviors and something that my bio doesn't, highlight, because I think, sometimes titles and designations, but anyway, behavioral psychology is just like a passion of mine. So I love behavioral and process addictions, like highlighting those for people. But anyway, what do I see? I see the home front CEO, right? And that means the stay-at-home mom, dad, lots of them, who, are just have to be everything and everything for everybody and do everything. And they don't know how to delegate, to create space for themselves, to have recreation in their life, hobbies, enjoyment, pleasure. There's no time for that. So there's those folks. And then you add in the business owners who are everything to everybody inside their home and have to be everything to their business, even if they're a solopreneur. And then there's all the comparison. Like, I don't measure up over here. I got to keep up with the Joneses over there. I've got to do, I don't know, got to keep up with the algorithm, whatever it is, right? Like all this pressure to perform and a ton of, and I'm a locus of control geek, right? Like locus of control theory, I'm all over that, right? Like there's so much external drive in people's lives that there's no space for the internal.
Interesting. So you created this playbook. So tell me what this playbook is. What does that mean? Is it a course? Is it one-on-one? Is it a book? Like, do they get a, let them that's behind you over there? Or what is this playbook?
Okay, so it's a lot of all of those things, and it just kind of depends upon the person. Um, you know what? I have a lot of conversations. People seek me out all the time. Like, you need to be selling your courses. You need to be selling, your bundles, your packages, your this and that. And I'm like, no, I don't. And let me tell you why. And the reason why is I haven't met them yet. And I don't know, what they need, etc. So there's the core foundational, right? Those psychological skill sets, tools, tactics, methods, modalities that I've converted into a coaching model that really allow people to have or move into a lifestyle of advanced emotional intelligence. And those come in the form of varying degrees, whether it's, access to a playbook that's just a bunch of shorts, like mindset, like, here, think about this today, observe for that today, do this, that are real non-intrusive, to all the way up to, full on, we'll call them curriculum, right? Where it's those longer 35, 40-minute lectures, if you will, that you take notes and you focus on it all week long. And so it depends upon the varying degree of severity of the issue that I'm working with. And then there's the in between. And so in there I have, the Insight and Impact Focus Group that comes with a weekly focus, worksheets, a group, and so I don't know until I've just had a conversation with somebody or done a couple audits, like a coping audit, a habit audit, things like that. Or look at that, I love doing a whole health survey where we look at all categories of life and break it down from a psychological perspective. So I just don't know until people come. But so the playbook is the different levels, right? Depending upon, what someone might need, because I'm down to give you free access to stuff. If you're in a place where I can just go, look, do this, follow that, book a one-on-one if you're struggling, boom. I don't need to be in somebody's life more than I need to be in somebody's life. I just want to, and I'm passionate about teaching people the things that I learned that completely changed my life. And I got a big old long story. Even you said, wow, as long as I've known you, I didn't know that about you. I've got this big, long life of just different stories of distress, right? And just if I can help anybody learn how to not be derailed by anything life throws at you, to be completely unshakable on an emotional level, like, boom, that's all. That's it for me, right? Like, that's my purpose.
That's awesome, because that is the key. Like, if you look at celebrities and you look at high wealth individuals, we know, like, you'll see two celebrities together on the red carpet smiling, and the body language is they appear to be loving each other. And the next day in the news, it comes out that they're cheating on each other. They've been cheating for months, but we didn't know that because, oh, look at the photo. They look so happy. So they learn, there's public persona and private persona, and they learn that those emotions they're not necessarily for the public. These are things you do behind closed doors. So I want to ask you, what is emotional intelligence? Explain that term to us, and how we see executives different, from the two girls in Walmart having a fight over the last, toilet paper, which is completely different than the wealthy that portray themselves differently.
This is a really big definition for me. And if you haven't gathered by now, right? Like, I'm not a whitewash kind of person, right? Like, I can't whitewash the definitions of words, and I love to break them down. And anyway, but for me, right, and in the work that I do, cultivating, nurturing, and conditioning emotional intelligence is taking that time to know ourselves inside and out, right? Like, taking that time to understand ourselves and to learn how to hear what the cognitive body, the emotional body, and the physical body is telling us. And then having that ability to slow things down, right? Like, to remove that knee-jerk, instantaneous, I gotta have the fix or the answer or the solution right now. And I'm not willing to sit with myself and edit it, right? Like the good example is, the diet. Oh, so-and-so lost 20 pounds on this. I'm going to do that diet too. But then you gain 5, right? Because it's not suited for your body and you weren't listening and you weren't paying attention. So it's about knowing what you need for you in any given scenario. And then also having that ability to see those external things in a way that says those things are out there. I choose to accept them for what they are. I don't have to buy into, I don't have to change who I am, etc. They just are. And then going on, reading a self-help book, right? Like reading this book, if you try to live by that, then you're trying to fit your life into somebody else's method, modality, or whatever, right? Instead of going, I'm going to incorporate their method or their modality into my life in a way that serves me. So, and one of my favorite phrases is add, edit, delete, change, shift, morph, make it your own. So it's about having that intelligence of knowing what makes sense for me and how is it going to enrich my environments and my relationships without jeopardizing my values, my morals, my ethics, and my integrity. I think a large problem is most people don't even know what their values are.
I think that's accurate. I think most people don't know who they are. So they're reading and consuming material going, well, this is what she does, so she's successful, so I'll follow this method or I'll do that, and it'll work. Well, we're looking at Let Them by Mel Robbins, her whole concept. This isn't her first book. This is her, 6th book? So,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, this is the one that took off. Well, why did it take off? What does let them mean? It means let them do what they want. But the concept of, you don't have to react to people. Nikki Sixx said it 15 years ago. And he said, your opinion of me is none of my business, which is basically, I don't have to react. I don't have to feed into your drama for any reason whatsoever. I can choose to not do that, or I can choose to jump in it. And then I can also choose to take that as a learning experience and change and shift and grow, or I could leave it sitting on the table depending on if it has no value for me. So to your point, I think we see a lot of people that feel one area of their life isn't growth oriented. Like you have the women executive, right? She's a CEO. She's amazing. She's killing it. She's, 6-7 figure earner. And then you look at her personal life and you're like, wow, bad relationship after bad relationship after bad relationship. And then she says, well, what's wrong with me, right? Why can't I find that high quality man? What am I doing wrong? And it's, well, wait a minute, maybe you're not doing anything wrong. Maybe it's the circle that you're in, or maybe you're not going in the right location, So it's all different things.
Or it's that true internal message that you believe about yourself. You are, again, relying on that persona, that professional persona, that success to bring you peace, joy, comfort, relief, value, validity, and worthiness. Instead of that coming from inside of you. My life motto is, this is my life too. It gets to look, feel, be however I want it to. I get to choose. So whether I have a 6-figure year or fall just shy of that, or I have a 7-figure year, I feel as valuable as I did. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because I can sit back and last year, case in point, right? Like I just sat back. I actually audited a decade worth of business. Where did they come from? Why did they come? And what did we do? And, all of these things, and said, okay, right? Like it's time to meet people, at the temperature that we're in. And so this is where some of this new stuff is coming out. But, and so did I take on less clients? 100%. Why? Because I needed to make space for me to continue to connect to my work. I needed to look at where my perspective on a certain topic that I teach people how to use had expanded.
Yeah.
Because I wrote my programs like 12 years ago, right? Like I have grown so much since the day I met you, right? Since my first class with you, right? Like all these things. I am, wow, right? Like just the amount of confidence, growth, it just anyway. And so I looked at those things and I'm like, oh, right, like the foundation of what this particular lesson is talking about is great. The way that I see it, feel it, hear it, live it, experience it, teach it has all changed. And so I want to bring that meat and potatoes, right, to the new person. And so, it's okay to take a step back. It's okay for me to make less, serve less. If it's, to serve me first, right?
Yeah.
I gotta live for myself first.
Maybe you should do a book called Me First. So let them, we do a Me First. How to put yourself first in your life.
Hey, I've always sat there and said, I'm gonna write a book one day, but I wouldn't even know what to call it. So hey, we brainstormed that right here, right now in this moment, right? Me first. That's a good one. Sounds sassy like me too.
I like it. Me first. I'd buy it. I'd be like, oh yeah, me first. Absolutely. Okay, got it. I'm gonna learn this lesson.
Oh.
So what's next on the docket for you? What are you working on? What are the new projects?
Well, I have a new project that's coming out, and I'm actually going to be doing, and I don't know, depending on when you're listening to this episode, right? We're going to be doing some beta testing in April, but just a little taking things to a more accessible platform, meaning some of those levels, right, don't necessarily need to, like I got to sit down at my computer and I got to do, all these big things. So, we're really just working on getting things where they're really easy to use, user friendly, like let me, automated, and there for pushing play, things like that. So, we're breaking it down, creating, it's going to be attached to it, so it's not going to be like the standard app, but I guess to describe it, it would be an app where you can engage or sign up for certain things, workshops and different things, because I'm going to be bringing again an element where people can come and spend time with me and learn and grow and fulfill some things where it doesn't always cost money, right? Like we can get together and we can do some really great, big, wonderful things in short periods of time, and I think that it's wonderful, and some people just don't know. Right. And it takes months sometimes for people to realize, like, where is it I need to focus? And I'm down to take that exploration with people until they figure it out. My dog's going to bark. Sorry.
That's okay. Okay. Well, I know you also teach for the Addictions Academy. So you teach a plethora of courses. So if people want to find you to hire you for the playbook or connect with you or hear about the app or take a course from you, where do they go?
I actually have a designated page on the turningleafsrecovery.com website. So you can look under professional credentialing. It's right there on the top. And, I teach mental health coaching, and I'm extremely passionate. Are we coming back? There we are. Wow. Sorry about that. Yeah, country living. Where's let me turn my camera back on. Country living, and Starlink Wi-Fi. So go right there to the professional credentialing drop-down menu. You can see the 4 courses I teach. I'm probably most passionate, considering, the folks that I work with the most, about mental health coaching. And the reason why is, I really believe I don't want to get too controversial, but there's a lot of folks out there that are serving large rooms of folks, right? And I'll just use business coaches as an example. And they're teaching people, but they don't have the wherewithal to know how to teach the one with an anxiety disorder or, social anxiety or a depressive disorder or whatever. And it's not that you need to be a mental health coach, but you do need to know how to serve the people in the room that are paying you big dollars to be there. And that means you need to know kind of how to engage with people.
So I like controversy, as we all know. We're gonna call a spade on this. In many industries now, we've got TikTok, we've got Instagram, we got bullshit out there, and you've got Gen Z going, you're an anxious avoidant, you're a narcissist, you're a BPD, with absolutely zero education, zero credentialing, and all they have is their personal experience. I'm looking through these and I'm like, girl, he's not a narcissist, he's a borderline. Girl, he's not a narcissist, he's a high achiever. One after another after another. I'm like, this fucking bullshit. Let me tell you, that's got me so riled up.
See, me too.
Now I get the people that have followed them coming to me going, I think I was married to a narcissist. I said, give me 5 minutes. And at the end of 5 minutes, I'm like, you're not married to a narcissist, but here's what's happening. So yeah. I think there's a lot of us in this space that are tired of these pseudo professionals with no training, with these large followings offering fake advice.
If you go through my profile on LinkedIn, you'll see like there was a period where I was just really venting about it because I was looking for some specific people, right, to talk to, and I don't want to call anybody out, but I'm going to call this out just because I can, and I can do it without using names. But I was looking for resources, and I came across this person, and we're in this world of everybody's neurodivergent, and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, the adult autistic expert, all the big, you could tell, spent tons of money on the marketing and the branding and the everything, right? And you look at it and you go, this person must be legit, and I'm getting in the back and forth. And I'm asking for resources, and they're like, well, what resources do you have? And I share, and they're like, well, basically they said, thank you. And I have no formal training. And I never re-engaged that person because I was so ethically flabbergasted. And I'm just going to say that, right? Like from a place of, because you know me, I'm like, oh my gosh, right? Like from an ethical standpoint, we have a fiduciary duty, et cetera, et cetera. And I was just floored, out of my chair, floored. And it's still, I'm like, whoa.
See, I'm not floored because when I started this company, there was a girl that started a life coaching company. And you'll figure out who this is in a second. And she has a bachelor's of psychology and no other training. And she took the CBT method, the feelings, the thoughts, the actions triangle that we get trained in bachelor's level college. And she took that and she said, this is the model of life coaching. And people paid her $33,000 to learn her life coaching model. And she went gangbusters. As she started making money, her first videos you see, they're in her apartment in Dallas. And it's a very, it's a shitty apartment. Bottom line. She started out, at the bottom. You can see that. Next thing you know, 5 years later, 6 years later, she's on stage and she's got fur and there's all these women and all this glamour and look at how much money I made and look at me. And I pull it up and I'm like, what the fuck is the model? Okay, I'm like, it's CBT. It's nothing else but a CBT triangle. And I'm like, that's what she built her brand on. So she took CBT, never gave CBT credit, and then made the model. And I'm like, wow. This is what we've got. We've got people who are not professionals, who are not trained, who are taking other people's stuff and going, this is mine, look, it's going to work. And it's so funny because now fast forward, she's out of business, by the way. Fast forward now, I'm at a CEO event in December, and I'm talking to this lady, and do you ever just, you meet somebody and you're like, there's something right?
Yeah, lots.
She's talking to me. And I'm as authentic as they come. I drop the F-bomb. I mean, I could dress up, but I'm still the sailor inside, And she's standing next to me, and she's very eloquent. And we start talking, and she's like, and where did you get your training from? And I'm like, God, I've got like 30 certifications, a PhD. I'm like, all over. And she's like, well, I got trained at, and she named this person. And I'm like, oh. And she's like, so, that's the best training on the market. I just looked at her and I went, based upon what? And she's like, well, you know how the model just works with everything. And I just put my hands up on a little table and I went, basically, she sold you CBT for $33,000 and I could have taught you for free. And she just stopped and she just looked at me and I'm like, yeah. And she's like, what do you mean CBT? What is that? And I'm like, you don't even know what you've got. So yeah, I feel this, like, I get it. It's frustrating.
I just think it's wrong, right? Like we're working in people's lives.
Yeah.
Right? You don't get to, and this is one of the things that I say all the time. In fact, it's going on one of my website pages, but of triciaparido.com. That's currently not on. It's not live right now, but it says don't wing it. Stop winging it, right? Like, because you're working with somebody in their life. They've come to you because they're struggling, they're hurting, or they, something's broken. You don't get to wing it. You don't get to wing it. You don't get to go, well, and this is the other one that gets me. Well, I just show up for my clients one-on-one and we talk about whatever they want to talk about. Okay, so they're paying you to be their friend, confidant, what? Like, if you don't have a journey, you don't have we start here, we go there, and these are your outcomes, and you don't know how to teach them the practical application of the step-by-steps in a way that will serve them for their needs, you're doing them a disservice and you're taking their money. And I just can't. I just can't.
We see this all the time in peer coaching. When I have somebody that went peer coaching to my competitor and they come to me and they take the recovery coach and they're like, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to put the client in my car. I didn't know they were supposed to sign a contract. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to share at an AA meeting. And I'm like, basics. This is like basics 101. Like, what did you learn? Like, where's the training? And they're like, well, I took this program and the state says it's a good program. Well, the state obviously doesn't know what they're looking at because you got a client in your car.
Which state?
And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. So I completely get that whole concept of we don't have enough training. We don't have enough good training. And people say, well, I don't really need that. I'm going to be an expert because there's Google and ChatGPT.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And this is part of the other reason that I'm bringing out, like the newer version, because people are, I look back at 10 years, but I also talk to people. I happen to have 5 children that range in age from 44 to 28 and grandchildren that are 16 to 3. And so I'm looking and when I hear comments that sound like I get my mental health from TikTok, right? Like, I follow some really great therapists and I listen to their 15-second blah, 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 right? And I get it. And I don't know. And I know you're out there and you've put out your little tidbits. And I think that's awesome. I don't know how to, and you know me, I don't know how to do anything shortened in 15 seconds. Like, it's not my personality. It's not my style. It doesn't come across authentic. So unless somebody's recording me and pulls out like an awesome sentence, like, it doesn't happen. I get there and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta say something profound.
This is how you have to do it. You have to do it on Instagram. You only have 60 seconds. So that's how I learned how to do it. I started Instagram and I'm like,
I've done it. I hate it. I just hate it.
You gotta cram it in and then it's boom, do the next one, do the next one, so I'll sit down and I'll come up with something and I'll be like, oh, I want to talk about that topic. Like, I was talking about the likes the other day. Because there's a girl on LinkedIn and she's got tons and tons of followers and she's always like, look at me here, look at me there. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't have any business because everything is a photo and a video, like 3, 4, 5 times a day. I'm like, that's all you're doing. You're not seeing clients. Despite the fact you say you're seeing clients, I know you're not because your time frame. So I did a whole thing on likes doesn't equate to clients because it doesn't. I'm busy, so I'll do short little things. And I did it in like 60 seconds and it started to go viral. And that was it. That was my whole topic. Just quick little.
My thing is like, hey, I'll sit down. Okay, what feels good? What's resonating? Okay, cool. I'm gonna write out some stuff for the week. And then I sit there on Sunday and I go through my cell phone and look for pictures, right? Ding, ding, ding. And then, because I'm like, I don't have time for it. And then I set it up to get, I schedule it. Because I don't have time to be sitting there. I have two times a day I will check in, and most of the time it ends up being one. So if you're not on between 6:30 and 7:30 in the morning, like, I don't know what to say. then it's like maybe it's 7 o'clock at night, right? Like, because this stuff in the middle, there's no time. Not for that anyway.
I completely get it. I have somebody that does it all for me. I make the video, I send it to her, she does the rest of it. I'm like, I don't have time.
Yeah, I did, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, but it's just the people that are, and this is the thing, because, you've gone to all the trouble to get everything accredited, and vetted and written from, the right places as far as education goes, and that training and have the ethics and all of the things that we need to know as practitioners, because people ask me like, well, why don't you go write your own stuff? And I'm like, why? Cali's got great shit, right? Like, why would I do that? Like, this is it. And it's also me teaching credentials that I already have because I've taken them and I've done them and blah, blah, blah. Right. But it makes a difference. Anybody can slap the name coach or the word coach at the end of their name, which bothers me. Right. So I'm pretty passionate about that because that's bothersome. You shouldn't be able to do that because there's a whole bunch of us that have, right, 15 plus credentials, right? People are like, why so many? And I'm like, because I needed food addiction. I needed recovery fitness, recovery nutrition. I needed those things. I needed psychonutrition. I got that someplace else. But, I needed all of these things to serve the whole human on top of my psych degree in counseling, and addiction studies and blah, blah, blah. On top of all of those things, even my coaching credentials, it was like, no, not just getting life coaching isn't enough because I'm doing more than that. Like, I'm talking to them about what they're putting in their mouth, what they're putting in their ears, their heart, their gut, like all the things. So I can't wing it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And that's why we have all the classes and, we have all the different things you can take and learn and get into. And it makes sense.
Yeah. And it's important. And it's a small investment. I mean, the iMac, that's a small investment. I mean, if you think about it, like, when you go to launch a business, right? You go to launch a business, there's going to be outlay. I mean, I started my practice with $5,000 out of pocket. And then it was self-supporting. And it's been self-supporting ever since. And it's afforded me a lot of my, not all of my, but the majority of my education and training and things like that in the beginning. But you have to invest. And education needs to be at the top. Training and education needs to be at the top if you're going to open a business. And if it's business coaching, right, that's fine. But it has to be more than just because you were successful in the corporate world. It's got to translate to all these different kinds of businesses. And what did you do to study and learn? How does it translate? I've spent a lot of money working with business coaches that said their stuff was translatable into any industry. Well, guess what? I learned some stuff, but it wasn't translatable into mental health. It just wasn't.
Yeah. We're the one industry I don't think the general norm translates into, even in marketing. I have a whole marketing course that I teach because people are like, oh, we'll just market. I'm like, wait a minute. You're not selling a product that you want somebody to continue to buy. That's the problem. We're an end user product. So you want to use it. You want them to not want you anymore, which basically your whole marketing is backwards now because you don't have a subscription model. You don't have that.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, well, I'm going to make one. Okay, well, how's that going to work? They're not going to need you at some point if you're good.
Yeah, if you're good, you're working yourself out of a job. That's the point, right?
Yeah.
Come in, get what you need, and go live, fly, be free, right? Like that's my deal.
Yeah, no, that's right. And it's hard. It's hard to market in this space. It's hard to market without the right education. It's hard to build a business. And then people get frustrated. They said, well, I've been working for a year and not been making any money. And I'm like, well, you're doing something wrong, because I worked part-time for 6 months and made $150K when I first started, just doing coaching part-time on the phone. That's all I did. And then I built and built and built, but something's off. And it's usually, it's mindset. It's usually part of the problem. And then impatience, you don't want to spend the money. You want to wait. You spend the money on education, but not marketing, or you spend the money on marketing.
What they do today, what I see today is they think, okay, I'm going to start a business. I'm starting a business. Got my little web page, and I'm just going to post on social media.
Oh, yeah. That's my favorite.
My clients do not come to me from social media.
I don't either.
And I went back that 10 years. I just talked about how I just did the whole, audit. People would follow me for years and then say, I've been following you for years, but they come to me through Psychology Today or a listing that's relevant, and they see me there and they're like, oh, wow, right? Like I found you here in this relevant space, right? Whether it's your listing or if it's Google or Psychology Today, whatever it is. And they're like, I'm ready. I just got an email from somebody yesterday. I talked to him at the beginning of December, and he just sent me an email. He's like, okay, I'm ready. I'm like, okay. Right? Like they come when they're ready. It's not because you put out some viral post.
Yep. Yeah, you're right.
Or a post that fell flat. Like it doesn't matter either way.
Yeah.
It's not why people come. They come when they're ready.
They do. And we are out of time, my dear. So
I know.
It's so nice chatting with you. We're going to put your information in the show notes. So Turning Leaves Recovery will be in there with your phone number, your social handles, all of that, so that they can find you and come to you directly. And if they're looking for classes, we'll put that in there as well. We'll refer them to your website. So I want to thank you for coming on the show. And you have been listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Cali Estes and my guest, Tricia Parido.
Thank you for listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Cali Estes and Master Coach Jenny Fontana. Head over to www.thelifecoachmethod.com to learn more about coaching yourself and how to become a master coach.